Okay, what I want to do now is look at the GZ curves, and we've got three different ones here, and we're going to look at how they relate to a vessel's situation, whether it's stable, neutral or unstable. Just to recap, initially we had a look at this typical GZ curve and we could get all the different values off it. Now let's look, I've just done three basic sketches here, and we've done a vessel that's stable, a vessel that's neutral and a vessel that's unstable. And if you recall, we did exactly the same with our sketches of a vessel inclined by an external force, and we could see with a stable vessel the GZ was positive, a neutral vessel GZ was 0, and obviously GM 0, and an unstable vessel you've got negative GM. So let's relate those three situations to the curves. So in the first one, the stable vessel, you can see that's just like the curve that we did originally, where you drew your tangent to the curve 57.3 and you got a positive GM. So on this curve here we draw a tangent to the curve 57.3, positive GM. Okay, happy with that? So that's a stable vessel, and that relates to this sketch here. Then we move on to a vessel that's neutral stability. So with neutral, GM is 0. So initially GM 0, no righting lever as well. So if we draw a tangent to our curve in the neutral situation, of course the tangent will simply be the baseline, because when you draw your tangent to that curve, it must just simply go straight along the baseline. So if you go along there to 57.3, naturally GM is going to be 0, and initially of course GZ 0. So that's a vessel that's neutral. Then we'll look at the third stage, where a vessel is unstable. Now G has moved above M, so in other words your GM is negative. So in the first sketch our GM was positive. When the vessel's stable, GM positive, neutral, G and M together, unstable, G has risen above M, therefore GM is negative. So when we look at the third sketch, you can see how the curve now from 0 actually goes below into negative territory before coming back up into positive territory. In the first sketch we started at 0, straight away the curve, and you could draw the tangent. The second one, when the vessel's in neutral stability, the curve went along the baseline initially, which meant that when we drew our tangent we got a value of 0. In the third one, when we draw our tangent to the curve to 57.3 degrees, we can see now that the GM we get is a negative value. So our initial GM is a negative value. Okay, so this is an unstable vessel, we've got negative GM. And incidentally, as this curve comes back up at this point here, where it comes and cuts the line where in effect GM is 0, then that would be known as the angle of lull. So a vessel would settle at this angle, the angle of lull. But this is an unstable vessel, and therefore we have an initial negative GM. Okay, so that would be the three stages for the GZ curve, and what I've tried to do there is relate the three stages to the three sketches that you would be expected to do, and you can see how they relate directly to the three curves.